It's unfortunate that this topic, this subject of non-duality is so misunderstood. There's a It's a very wondrous subject because we're talking about something that can't actually be talked about. So while talking, we're actually trying to point to the talking itself, the process of talking or something. Yeah, it's what there is infinite, and what we're trying to express, the medium that we use to express is finite. So it's a funny situation. Hello there, Shayla. Thanks for the flower. Yeah, it's unfortunate how it gets claimed by the ego, really. So a lot of what you see on YouTube is uh, very fixed and very stiff. Hi. Very rigid. It be like there's like school of thoughts. It's relatively new, but already there are like schools of thought, and then a great proportion also is kind of geared towards helping people to become enlightened or free or whatever. Um, like how to, or how it happened to me, or uh, a whole lot of compassion for other people's suffering and all this kind of stuff. Uh, yeah, those things really, they're misleading. Um, and to think that there are certain types of non-duality that are more true than others is a real is really to get lost in a labyrinth. And all it's about in the end is just pride, like which one is the right one. It's very unfortunate. So I've noticed that doing some videos and talks and questions and answers, that it's quite beneficial or useful in a way to strip things down a bit more, or I don't know, uh, have something a little more grounded. Um, I find a lot of it quite lifted off. Like someone occasionally someone will send me a video. So the last time that happened, the video was somehow like what was it? How painful it was to see that there is no one, or something like that. That was kind of in the title of the video. It's insane. Like the real glimpse that there is no one, as we commonly think about it, would be the most pain-free thing ever. And it's also not the thing, as contrary to what's commonly accepted, it's also not the thing that is equatable with freedom, because just having a glimpse of that is not. Yeah, anyway, so when that is seen, if someone has an inkling of that, then already it's like, okay, now I've become enlightened. It's not about that. There's um, when that is said, it means a certain thing. Um, it points to something very specific. Yeah, that there's not this collection of images that we try to cultivate throughout our lives and we present to the outside world. That is empty. So there's no, whatever the identifier, the name, let's say, or the I, yeah, the word I, um, whatever that points to is not a thing. It's not a closed entity. It's not yeah, it's way more subtle than what is commonly assumed, and it's unfortunate because it's very misleading. It really does mislead people, and it also makes conversations can make conversations about it quite boring, in my opinion. Um, I was reading a quote today, apparently by Anthony Hopkins, and I don't know if I can remember it, but he was saying something like that we value funerals more than we value the deceased person. We value marriage more than we do love. And there was a third thing, I can't remember it. And his conclusion was that we've uh, cultivated a culture that loves form and despises content. So that really says it all, I find. The pursuit of any kind of spirituality or non-duality as well, this the it's very easy to see what's going on because we can see what the goal is. What's the objective? Like to have some kind of to reach some kind of state where now everything is peaceful forever and uh yeah, whatever that goal is, there's a very subtle thing that would suggest that actually what I want is to be in a position where I will then finally get the recognition that I always wanted. Yeah, it can be very subtle, but there can also, of course, be the sincere desire to just for this uh for any kind of feeling of discomfort or what would you call it, this some kind of tension or inner conflict, for that to cease. But it's also not really in a way this I'm not saying this as a way to do something, but it's not really enough to just want to be rid of that inner conflict. Because at the end of the day, we are the ones who put ourselves into the inner conflict. So we can't take that away. We can't take that out of the equation. So there has to be some seeing. It's like a it's like in a relationship or a friendship. If it I'm talking about anything that is like a where there's a real connection there, not some superficial acquaintance. But if there's some kind of connection there, and then one person, this happens a lot in relationships, and then one person doesn't really stand with both feet in that relationship. Yeah. Because maybe, I don't know, because the other person doesn't really suit they think, oh, what will my family think of them? My culture, my upbringing doesn't really fit, or maybe they don't really fit the dream I've always had of what I want a perfect partner to be. If I've built up so many conditions, terms and conditions, for what that person should be like, and then they wherever they don't really fit it, I'm taking my feet out again, or I'm kind of sitting on the fence, and that's all. Those are all like it's all passive aggression, really, in a way. So yeah, this sort of lack of wholeheartedly embracing, in this case, a relationship. The same thing happens with life, like this lack of really. Uh, it's like there's a presumption that we have the choice to somehow sort of uh, maintain our reserve and our withdrawal. Let's see how things work out. You know. So in any kind of pursuit or seeking or desire to be free, to be rid of any kind of ego, it can be very useful to look at the end goal. What's the real objective? If the objective is anything other than just to live to the fullest, yeah, to have a fulfilled life, then we're really barking up the wrong tree. It's nothing more elevated than that. It's the ability, the gift of actually, because it's not obvious. It's not obvious in a world where conditioning reigns supreme, yeah, in the world of humans. So by the way we've organized ourselves and the way we see our place in the totality, it's not an obvious thing. So it's a big gift to be able to live our lives fully to the fullest, where we get to the end of a life and it's like, wow, yeah, I really did everything I wanted to do, expressed every talent, every ability, every love, passion for something, joy I have for something. It's nothing more than that, because by default, if this human-centered perspective weren't so dominant, there would be no question, there would be no talking about this. It wouldn't even be named being free or anything like that. It's just the way we live our lives. If we look at animals in the wild or animals are free. So pets, they can have some projections put onto them by their owners, but animals are free. So if we look at them and then there's something there. It's not quite what I had in mind. It's not like it doesn't have some kind of halo around it, specialness around it. Again, then we're just barking up the wrong tree. Arthur, hey, hello to Brazil. Do I have beliefs? No, I don't. I would say I'm laughing because I was thinking about. I definitely have some strong opinions about. I was thinking of the example of sports. Like, do I have the beliefs of like who's the greatest football player of all time or the greatest basketball player of all time and things like that? But then I think to myself, it's not really a belief. I feel like it's the way things are. If we say whoever is the best football player of all time, I wouldn't call that a belief. So yeah. But no, the whole point is to what need is there of beliefs? Pele? No. Okay. Nice though. I'm happy to have a discussion about that for a change. Um no, belief beyond like a belief in like I was saying in a relationship, because there is this conditioning, and it's really it's a gift. It behooves us to see that there is conditioning, because what happens at the beginning of a relationship is that the the egos are frozen, yeah, because the attraction, the love, the real connection is so strong. I'm talking about like a real relationship, a potentially the potential for a real relationship, which is only there when there's really a connection there. So when that's there, this initial burst, this energy is so strong that the ego gets frozen. So we see each other the way we really are. And what's so great about it is that we are seen the way we really are. So sometimes it can be for the first time ever, someone really sees, okay, apart from our parents when we were little kids, but in our adult life, that we're actually seen exactly the way we are, and we might not even be aware of that. So it's so nourishing when someone else sees that. But what happens then? There's like, this is the subject of, it provides the subject for I don't know how many movies. But when this love fades, yeah, when this attraction fades, the honeymoon period is over. The conditioning, it's not just gone, it's just been suspended like for a while, but it comes back, and then there starts to be claiming. We start to live according to, we go back to like our established views of how relationships should be, or everything else should be, of who we are, of how we are, and all this stuff. So in with the word belief, the only thing I can think of where it might have some value, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it has some other values too, is to, if we keep that image or memory of how the other person is, yeah, when things were, when in this beginning period, when we see clearly the other's true self, or as they are, by their nature, then to cling on to that, to believe in them, can really, that's the only way to progress in the relationship once things seem to, once there's conflict. Because the easiest thing is just to give up on it. Oh, you're not who I thought you were, and actually all that's happened is that these structured belief systems have come back. The conditioning is kind of in effect again. So then I could say it makes sense to like believe in the other person, but I don't know if that's even the correct use of the word. But Arthur, it's also very, very, very relative. So if you ask me about a political situation, for example, or so many other subjects, I might say, "Oh, I believe this would be a good way forward in that conflict." Yeah, then maybe that could be a belief. I don't know. I don't know if that's what you had in mind, or what exactly you had in mind. This desire to be recognized is not natural. Good question. Hmm. Yeah, it goes two ways. Um, so it is natural for sure to get nourishment through relationships. Yeah, for sure. In the family, with loved ones, with friends, it's a nourishing thing, of course. So if somebody recognizes you by your true nature, it's very nourishing. No two ways about it. But that doesn't mean, and it would be another thing to think, so we need that. Yeah, it is also possible, and thank God it is, because of all the conditioning that's around, to live without that. Like, you don't need anyone else. Um, and okay, then also, like, say a child is doing some somersaults into a swimming pool and telling its parents to watch. Yeah, that's also natural, of course. So yes, so for the true self, for our true nature, to to have recognition, to be recognized, to recognize others, that's completely natural. But the seeking of recognition for these established and cultivated self images, yeah, I want to be seen as this. Like, I'm a, I don't know, I've become a doctor, and I've built my whole identity around this thing that I do. I'm a doctor, I'm such a good doctor, or whatever, yeah, or I'm an activist, or like I'm such a rebel, or um, I'm a good I'm a good father, like I'm such a great father, I'm such a great mother. Yeah, like now my whole identity is being a father, being a mother. Um, anything, could be anything. Those are just self-images that we've created and that we try and uphold through energy, including other people's energy. So when I talk about the need to gain recognition, and the ego would be the concern with how other people see us, that's not natural. By nature, we don't give a shit about how someone else sees us. That doesn't mean we don't appreciate it if someone sees our true nature, of course. That's what love is. So, yes, it's very much a natural thing. But the whole point is that we don't need to establish any self-images, because there is no lack. There's nothing missing in our nature. The only thing that would prompt us to do so is to believe that there's something missing that we then have to fill. Yeah, actually, that quote, and I'll just kind of try and repeat it. This quote by Anthony Hopkins was like, um, that we value. Okay, that we value, like we value a funeral more than the person who's passed away. We value marriage more than we value love. That he's talking about, that we've created this culture where the form is the king and the content is just disregarded. So that's also even what the Buddhists will talk about, non-attachment. Yeah, that's the claiming. It's the claiming of the form, the trumping of the form, as if the trying to like capture something in the moment. Let's say if we see it, if we look at it as energy, which is just taking the shape of things, so to speak. Yeah, it doesn't become anything, it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't even move, but it like takes on the shape of whatever it wants. It's free. So there are humans, there are flowers, there's stars, there's whatever, physical and non-physical, visible to the human eye and non-visible to the human eye, so all kinds. There's complete freedom there. But this attachment to the form, that's what actually the Buddhists have described as, or maybe the Hindus, I don't know, as Maya, as the illusion. That to like it's basically like making everything very one-dimensional, as if that's the ultimate reality. Yeah, that this expression in form or taking shape is fixed, which it never is. And that sort of softens things a lot. That's why our opinions don't really matter. That's why, uh, yeah, that's kind of the difference between taking ourselves too seriously and not. Um, and that's also why it's a real relaxation. It's a real sort of deflating of something that's been like so pridefully inflated, and it naturally actually takes away the seeking. It's like the death of seeking, because everything settles down again. It's like, okay, everything is actually much simpler, much more grounded than it seems, than everybody else talks about, and certainly than religions talk about, definitely than spirituality talks about, and in most cases also what non-duality talks about.